Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Today I'm bringing you guys Branded Chimera. Branded Chimera is actually by far my most favorite deck of all time, simply because I just love what this deck can do. And we actually recently got some new support for this deck from Age of Overlord. A new fusion monster, which actually was, I believe, was in my last deck profile as a matter of fact. But actually there was another illusion monster that I completely missed and completely forgot about. And after I tested, and funny enough, spoilers, I am running it. This card actually is really crazy, which I'll get to momentarily as to what it does. But for now, figured I'd just share you guys what I got with what I came up with this time around with Branded Chimera, and let's go and get started. So my main deck is actually 42 cards. So you might see some familiar faces, but starting off with, of course, 3 copies of Mirror Sword Knight. This is one of your best cards. It's a 1-card combo. It tags out to anything that says Chimera Fusion. So your prime target's going to be Baphomet, but you do have other targets too. So like, depending on what your hand looks like, you might want to go into Gazelle sometimes. But again, Baphomet is going to be your key point one because, Baphomet gets you Gazelle and Chimera Fusion together. So yeah, this card is pretty crazy. Also has a graveyard effect where if you control a Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish this card and negate that effect. So yeah, Mirror Sword Knight is pretty crazy. Next, 3 copies of Cornfield Codal. In case if you don't have Sword Knight, this is the card that also helps you get to it. It's also a 1-card starter. You can pitch this card from your hand and search out any monster that has Chimera Fusion in its text, in which case your Mirror Sword Knight. And also, if your opponent activates an effect that targets one of your cards while you control a Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, you can banish this card, negate the activation of that card, or negate the effects of that card, and then destroy it. So yeah, Cornfield Codal is pretty good at dodging cards like Impermanence or Effect Veiler, anything in the like. Next up, 3 copies of Gazelle. This is pretty standard. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add a level 5 Fiend monster, or you can add a Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand. And if it's used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard, you can add any illusion monster from your deck to your hand. So definitely a great card to have. Next up, 2 copies of Big Wing Baphomet. If this card is normal special summon, you can actually add both a level 4 beast monster and a Chimera Fusion, or if you can just choose one, that's fine. But still, you generally get to search out both a Gazelle and a Chimera Fusion together. So that's why Baphomet's pretty broken. And funny enough, Baphomet technically helps you get out of the Yibli lock, as it is a level 5 monster. You could just tribute summon this card, which is pretty funny. If this card is used as fusion material and sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 illusion monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So yeah, Big Wing Baphomet offers a lot of advantage in this deck. And the new addition to our deck, 1 copy of Master Tau the Chanter. So this is the new illusion monster I was just talking about. So like the other illusion monsters, it can't be destroyed. Well, technically, if this card battles a monster, neither are destroyed by battle. And also, but that's not important. The part that is important is that if this card is sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter from where, you can target 1 illusion monster in your graveyard except itself, special summon that target in defense mode. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from your graveyard for the rest of this turn except for illusion monsters. That's okay because most of our revival effects usually only happen during the opponent's turn anyway. So Master Tau is really good because, like, depending on like one of the plays you want to go for, like for example, if you want to bring out the new Baphomet Fusion, you can pitch this to your graveyard if you already have the Sword Knight that's in your grave, and then yeah, basically you can basically keep pushing for full combos. So Master Tau just offers so much value to this deck. So yeah, definitely something to try out. And yeah, trust me, like if you guys want to do it, you guys want me to show you guys on one of the combos of what you can do with this card, let me know in the comments, and yeah, we'll get to that. But moving on, playing 2 copies of Fallen Valbez, since this is a branded Chimera. You gotta have Fallen Valbez for branded fusion. And I am on the Frightfur line again, so familiar faces being 2 copies of Edge of Chain, 2 Patchwork, and only 1 copy of Polymerization. Because we are on Magnum the Reliever, you can essentially just place the Polymerization back to the bottom of the deck, and that way your Patchwork doesn't feel dead at all. So I was thinking of running it at 2, but for now I think 1 is just fine, because again, it's like you want to see it, but at the same time you don't want to see it because like it can be a little bricky if you don't have the materials. But again, that's just my way of thinking. And of course, if Edge of Chain is sent from your hand to the grave, you can search out another Patchwork. So yeah, a great engine overall. Plus it just makes it so that my Guardian Chimera can't be targeted. So that's just one of the things about it. But if I do bring in another Polymerization, I might do that later. So again, right now I like this lineup. All right, so moving on to the rest of our spells. I'm playing 3 copies of Chimera Fusion, of course. Card's pretty crazy. You basically use the polymerization effect as many times as you want. But the graveyard effect is that if you have if you have a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast on field or in the graveyard, you basically add this card from your graveyard back to your hand once per turn, of course. But still, like, that's pretty good because you basically have free discard fodder for your super polymerization, essentially. But again, you can basically activate as many copies of this as you want from your hand. So definitely something to take advantage of. 3 Branded Fusion, if we have the right plays, Branded Fusion could be nuts. And we do have ways to play around Ash, so I'm not too worried about it. 3 Super Poly. Super Poly is just nuts this format because, especially because cards like Mud Dragon is one of the best Super Poly targets. We still have Dragostapelia, and now with some of the new decks that are around, there are a lot of new good Super Poly targets. So yeah, 3 of these is definitely something to try out. 3 copies of Crossout Designator. One of the cards to help me play around Ash. Same thing with Triple T. Even if I do get Ash, I can either draw 2 cards or rip another card out of my opponent's hand. And I also do have the one Called by the Grave. And speaking of which, moving on to the Hand Trap lineup now. 3 copies of Ash. 3 copies of Imperm, another card I'm kind of worried about because you definitely don't want to be on the opposite end of that card. And of course, 2 copies of Joan Lockbird. Really crazy this format, but I kind of want to make sure I always have all the cards that I need in my opening hand. Even if I don't, that's fine. I can still wait till my opponent's turn and just activate Chimera Fusion during their turn and still go full combo somehow. So yeah, but still, Joan Lockbird is pretty annoying, so it's good when it comes up. All right, now moving on to the extra deck. For my extra deck, playing 2 copies of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts. I've actually heard that some people have been cutting this down to 1. I might do that too eventually, but for now I still like it at 2 because I do like the ability to be able to rip my opponent's rip a card out of my opponent's hand during the end phase. That way they have a little less card advantage and still push in for some pressure. 2 Guardian Chimera, for sure you want to play this set too because this card's crazy. It pops cards and draws you cards. And as long as you have polymerization in your graveyard, can't be targeted. 1 copy of Berfmit, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. I actually do make this a lot more often, especially because of Master Tau. Because again, he's a foolish burial for either a beast, fiend, or illusion monster. Can revive your banished fiend, beast, or illusion monsters too. So this card actually just does so much for this deck now that it's crazy. 1 Chimera, the Illusion Beast. I've actually been making this card a lot more often now because not only does it make for a good OTK piece because it can attack multiple times on monsters, but it powers down monsters to their powers down their attack points to 0, and it negates their effects permanently. So yeah, this card is really crazy. Most of the time I use up to maybe 3 or 4 materials just to get that many number of attacks just to make sure I can go for games. So yeah, Illusion Beast, definitely something to play. For my branded line, 1 Mirror Jade, of course, 1 Albion, 1 Lebellion, and 1 Rinbrum. Rinbrum is just insane because, we do have a beast monster. Actually, we have quite a few beast monsters. So, yeah, definitely something to consider. 1 Magnum the Reliever. This card's also great for disruption because, not only does it recycle your fusion spells and draws you a card, but if your opponent, activates an effect, you can banish a fusion spell or polymerization from your graveyard and then pop a card on their side of the field. It doesn't negate, but still, free spot removal is something I can't pass up. For my Super Poly targets, I do have Mud Dragon, as I mentioned. 1 Guilty Gear Free. This is primarily to deal with SP Little Knight and Baron de Fleur because there are actually quite a few decks that do that just sit on the 2, especially Tier Limit. They like to sit on SP Little Knight and Baron de Fleur. Yeah, I don't want those cards to, stop my plays, so I gotta go with what I can. 1 Dragonite Draco Equest. This is kind of similar reason for Guilty Gear Freed, but this is primarily for Vanadium because they play Crimson Dragon and Baron de Fleur. So as soon as they bring out that Crimson Dragon, yeah, you definitely want to Super Poly that because you don't want that Crimson Dragon to kick off. So definitely a great card to play. And last but not least, 1 Protoplant Dragostapelia. I'm no longer on Dragoon, as you guys can clearly see, but yeah, this is just my general lineup right now. and I'm definitely not disappointed. All right, now for the side deck, I'm playing 2 copies of Druid Swarm and a Magnemite, of course, just to deal with like tier limit. Against Flunderies, or birds as we all like to call them, I decided to bump King Tiger Wangu to just 1, simply because it's searchable, funny enough, because Big Wing Bird for me can search this. And plus, I can actually bring this back off of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast. So yeah, King Tiger Wangu is pretty nuts because like with Flunderies, they just can't play around it. They keep getting popped, and yeah, there's just no way for them to really take advantage of it. Against Pearly, 2 copies of Herald of the Abyss. I know I have more copies of this somewhere. I've been trying to find them, but so far I've only been able to find 2 copies of it, surprisingly. But I mean, 2 should be enough anyway, because it's just one of those cards that affects the player, not the monsters. So great way to deal with their 7 material Nor. So yeah. For back row, 2 Cosmic, 1 Heartbeast Feather Duster. I'm also on 3 copies of Evenly Matched. If I really need to equalize the board, this is the card to do it. 2 Tikaboo. This is actually pretty strong against Unchained because that deck is primarily Fiend. Pretty strong against the Rescue Ace matchup because they're also machine monsters. So like that's pretty nice. So yeah, Tikaboo actually just has a lot of utility. 1 D Barrier. This just is a cross out target because I don't want to be on the opposite end of this card. So yeah, it's pretty annoying. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys again next time.